The dollar is on the brink of catastrophe. The world holds its breath. Will the United States, for the first time in history, declare default? Incredible, but true. This has never happened, not even during the Great Depression or the 2008 financial crisis. According to the US Treasury, America's national debt has already surpassed $35 trillion. This is not just a number on paper. It's a ticking time bomb, getting louder every day. Every minute, Washington borrows new money just to pay off old debts. And more often, the question arises, what if the moment comes when there is simply no one left to borrow from? Imagine a country that for decades has printed the world's reserve currency and dictated the rules of the entire financial system suddenly finds itself in the position of a debtor unable to pay its bills. The fact remains, the United States has reached the edge, beyond which lies uncertainty. And here comes the key question. What is the Federal Reserve preparing? An accident? Hardly. Too many signs point to the fact that what lies ahead is not just a crisis, but a turning point for the entire global economy. The reasons for a possible default are obvious. The first and foremost is the insane debt load. The US national debt has long turned into a monster that devours trillions of dollars just to cover interest payments. The higher the rates, the more money disappears into the void. The Fed, trying to curb inflation, raised interest rates to record levels, but instead of salvation, it created a trap. Paying the debt becomes ever more expensive, and the Treasury has no new sources of income. Every day, the economy sinks deeper into this quicksand of debt. But the problem is not just the numbers. There is also a political deadlock. Once again, Congress is paralyzed. Democrats and Republicans argue for months about the debt ceiling. Some demand spending cuts, others insist on more borrowing. As a result, the country lives on temporary fixes, like crutches. The world watches nervously because a single vote in Washington may decide whether global markets will function tomorrow. And in this political game on the edge, even the most seasoned investors are starting to lose their nerve. Financial markets already sense the approaching storm. A massive sell-off of US treasuries has begun. China and Japan, the largest holders of US debt, have sharply reduced their investments. And this is a dangerous signal. If treasuries used to be considered the safest asset on the planet, today investors are increasingly asking, is America still worth trusting? Insiders claim what we are seeing now is only the tip of the iceberg. The real flight from the dollar is still ahead. And now imagine the position of the Fed. Keep rates high, the economy collapses. Lower them, the dollar depreciates and inflation devours everything around it. A vicious circle with no elegant exit. And here comes the key question. What will US regulators choose? Save the dollar or save the economy? Or will we see a third solution, the one that is not spoken of publicly? And then comes the moment of truth. All eyes are on the Federal Reserve. Its decisions will determine not only the fate of the US dollar, but also the balance of the entire global economy. Investors hold their breath. Politicians conduct late-night meetings, and the media write that, today in Washington, the future of civilization may be decided. Sounds dramatic? But that's exactly how it looks from the inside. The Fed has been left with a choice that is no choice at all. The first option, an emergency rate cut. It might give the economy some breathing room, cheaper loans, businesses taking a sigh of relief, and a temporarily revived stock market. But there's a price. Lowering rates would instantly hit the dollar. Inflation would skyrocket, and America could plunge into a scenario resembling Latin America in the 1990s. Paper money losing value, and people desperately rushing to gold and real estate. The second option, turning on the printing press. So-called quantitative easing, or as insiders already call it, QE 2.0. This trick helped America out of past crises. The Fed poured trillions into the system, markets revived, and the world once again believed in stability. But today, this trick no longer works. The world has changed. Every new batch of dollars undermines confidence in the currency itself. And if that confidence collapses completely, everything will crumble, from the stock market to international trade. There is also a third, toughest option: freezing government spending, cuts, sequestration, reductions in social programs. For Americans, this sounds like a low blow. Imagine millions of people who could lose benefits, health insurance, and government support overnight. That could trigger mass protests and damage America's image more than any foreign enemy. But the Fed knows there may be no other way. Every one of these options strikes the dollar. Everyone undermines trust in the United States. And here comes the conspiratorial question. What if this is all part of a bigger plan? What if the world is being prepared for a new financial order where the dollar is no longer king? Insiders say that behind closed doors, schemes are being discussed for a gradual move away from the dollar in favor of digital currencies. China is actively promoting its digital yuan. Europe is testing the electronic euro. And in the US, voices are growing louder about the need for a digital dollar. A coincidence? Hardly. And while analysts argue which scenario the Fed will choose, the consequences are already being felt today. For Europe, any disruption in the dollar system means an explosion in energy prices. After all, gas and oil are traditionally traded in dollars. If confidence in the currency falters, prices spike, and Europe once again faces the brink of an energy storm. For China, the US crisis is an opportunity. For the first time in decades, Beijing has a chance to offer the world an alternative. The yuan could become a new reserve currency, and with it, China's political influence would grow. The irony is that it is the United States itself pushing the world toward this shift. But who says all of this is a coincidence? Maybe we are watching a carefully planned operation in which every player knows their role. And the main question remains open. What comes next? If the United States defaults or even shows the slightest sign of it, the world will face a chain reaction that could change the familiar order of things. The dollar is the foundation of the global financial system. More than 60% of all international transactions are conducted in it. And if this foundation shakes, everyone will feel the consequences, from governments to ordinary people buying bread at the corner store. Let's start with Europe. For the EU, a dollar crisis is a nightmare. Most energy contracts are denominated in US currency. Imagine, the exchange rate fluctuates, trust evaporates, and oil and gas prices shoot to the sky. Emergency meetings in Brussels, finance and energy ministers arguing all night, but solutions are scarce. Europe is forced into the role of a dependent player, paying more for everything from fuel to food. And this is no longer a forecast. It's reality. Prices rising, companies going bankrupt, people taking to the streets. The question grows louder. Can Europe survive another winter of crisis? Now, China. For Beijing, this is the long-awaited chance. The weakening of the dollar automatically opens the road for the yuan. Chinese banks are already signing bilateral agreements with dozens of countries offering settlements in their own currency. The more problems the US faces, the more partners switch to yuan. And this is not only economics, it's politics. Beijing gains a powerful lever over entire regions. The yuan could become not just a currency, but a symbol of a new world era, where the West no longer dictates the rules alone. Coincidence? Hardly. Russia and developing nations are also caught in the turbulence. On one hand, higher commodity prices bring extra revenues. Oil and gas rise, and budgets enjoy a temporary boost. But on the other hand, financial instability crushes currencies and markets. Import-dependent countries face shock. Prices rise daily, inflation spirals out of control, and ordinary people suffer first. There are no winners here, only those who lose a little less. And what about ordinary people worldwide? For them, the US crisis means higher prices for everything, from food to electronics. Savings lose value, mortgages become unbearable, and currency swings turn every purchase into a survival game. People start seeking safety in gold, cryptocurrency, real estate. The irony is that advice like diversify your portfolio, which sounded like smart financial wisdom yesterday, today becomes a desperate cry. Save at least part of your wealth. Insiders claim, behind closed doors, central banks are already preparing alternatives. Some are testing digital currencies, some discussing regional alliances, others even considering a return to gold. Imagine if the dollar collapses and the world moves back to a gold standard. Fantasy? Maybe. But today, it's being discussed at the highest levels. The world has reached a point where every step taken in America is felt across the planet. And the key question remains, Can the dollar withstand this storm, or are we standing at the threshold of a new financial era where the rules are rewritten? And so we approach the climax. The world is used to thinking of the dollar as an unshakable fortress. But what if this fortress is nothing more than cardboard scenery, held together by habit and fear? The question grows louder. Are we witnessing America's true collapse, or a carefully staged play where every detail is scripted? The facts speak for themselves. The dollar is falling in value. Confidence in treasuries is fading. Allies are growing doubtful. The press prints alarming headlines. America on the verge of default. But inside the US, other voices are heard. Some experts say this is a shameful, epic failure. Washington unable to handle its own debt, dragging the world down with it. Others argue it could be a brilliant move. America deliberately drives itself into crisis, only to later offer the world a salvation. A new digital dollar, a new financial architecture, with the US once again at the center. Picture it. Markets collapse, people flee the old system in panic, and on the horizon appears a shining solution. A digital currency that guarantees stability. And millions, billions agree because they have no choice. Coincidence? Hardly. There's another conspiratorial version. Some analysts insist a dollar crisis benefits not only China or Europe, but America's own elite. Through chaos, they get the chance to erase old debts. What could be more convenient than declaring default, wiping out trillions in obligations, and starting fresh? Yes, the reputational hit would be enormous. But if you write the rules, reputation itself becomes just another prop. And yet, the fact remains. For ordinary Americans, this is no strategy. It's a disaster. Millions risk losing savings, pensions, stability. Protests, bankruptcies, unemployment, all of it is a reality already knocking at the door. America, long the world's example, risks becoming an anti-example. And here lies the paradox. While Washington politicians argue the world is moving on, China builds new alliances, Europe searches for its own safeguards, Russia and others bet on commodities and gold, the world acts as though the dollar is no longer the sole center of power. And so the question arises, could this be the real plan? America losing the old world in order to create a new one, where it again takes the lead? There's no answer yet. But one thing is certain. We are at the point of no return. Either the dollar survives this blow, or we will witness the largest transformation of the global economy in the last century. And so, the finale. The dollar, symbol of strength, stability, and global dominance, finds itself at the edge of the abyss for the first time in decades. Everything whispered yesterday is shouted from the world's biggest news networks today. America could default. The world is shocked. Europe nervous. China prepares. Russia and developing nations wait. The fact remains. The chain reaction has already begun. Commodity prices swing, stock markets quake, investors frantically move into gold and crypto. What seemed like fiction becomes everyday reality. People realize that their savings, loans, salaries depend not on local news, but on the decisions of a handful of people in Washington. And here lies the most important truth. If the dollar collapses, this won't just be a crisis. It will be a global reset of the financial system. Imagine a world transformed overnight. Old rules gone, new ones dictated by whoever seizes the initiative. Who will it be? China with its digital yuan, Europe with its electronic euro, or the US itself with a new currency even more controlled and rigid? And so comes the final question. Is the world ready for what it's about to learn? Because a dollar default is not only an economic issue, it is a political and social earthquake. A shift in power, new alliances, new conflicts. What seems frightening today may feel routine tomorrow. In the end, one detail remains, forcing us to think. Amid all this crisis, one word appears again and again: digitalization. The world is being slowly but surely nudged toward a cashless system, total control over transactions, complete transparency. And in this game, the dollar may be the first sacrifice. Coincidence? Hardly. America may yet find a way out. It may offer the world a new form of trust. But if that happens, it will no longer be the same dollar we knew before. It will be a different currency, a different world, different rules. And so I leave you with this question. Will the fall of the dollar mark the end of an era or the beginning of a far more dangerous game? The answer we will know very soon.